Hello,
Welcome.
everybody.
Dad's gonna be up here instead of Bob today.
Lunatic Mom. That's me. I'm. I haven't figured out. I have to check my gender. Maybe I'll do a gender reveal or some shit like that. That'll be great. Oh, I better put my chat on. I keep on forgetting we're on a different plat. I always mess this up. I swear to God. It's gonna say Lady Outlaws. It's gonna be Lunatic Dad, and we got the beautiful Mama of Breakfast. Hello, honey. How's your day going today?
Oh, it's going fantastic. I went out for a birthday breakfast this morning.
What are you gonna be? 21? Hello,
No,
Scotty.
74.
74. Man,
Yep.
I'll tell you what, you don't look a day older than freaking 50. I swear, you looking
Well,
good,
thank you.
girl.
That's what I've been told.
I got to do the foot fetish. We got Everett in there. Got to show him the feet. Okay.
I don't think so.
No, not you. He wants my feet. He wants
Good.
my.
He can have your feet, Dad.
I swear to God, with Everett, I never have to worry about it if I ever have to wash my feet or anything because he'll lick them all nice and clean.
Oh,
Just saying.
God.
No, sweetheart, you don't understand Everett. He's a little different. Okay, just different. He loves Dad's feet. I don't
It's
know what
okay
to
to
say.
be different.
Yes, it
It is.
is.
So, Mom, we were talking. I guess last week, the ladies, and you guys were talking about old times, differences between the yesteryear and now a year. Now,
Yep.
I was very intrigued by it. I really was because I felt that yesteryears were a lot better, safer time in society. Personally, I really believe that. I believe that things get over dramatized and overreacted to on a whiff of the whim of anything that's happening in nowadays era. Back in our era, because I look at myself as being part of your era and everything else, is that back then, would you say that things we had thicker skin? We had a thicker skin than nowadays people coming up in society and everything else. What do you think about that?
I think so too. And back then, the kids had more respect for their elders. And they would go around the neighborhood and try to help the elders.
True. And especially like back when I was a little young man and everything else, believe it or not, people, I actually was young at one time. And my father, when I was coming up, he always would tell me whenever there'd be a bad snowstorm or whatever the case would be, he would say, not going to trying to make money and everything else. He would turn around and tell me, "Hey, you go to the older people in the neighborhood and everything else who don't have children or whatever, and I want you to go there, knock on their door, and say, 'I'm going to shovel your snow for you,' and then put salt down and everything else." You honestly think that anything like that would ever happen in nowadays era where the parents would actually tell the kids, "Hey, look out for the elderly. Do a wellness check on them. Knock on their door. Make sure they're okay and everything else." I think that's like a lost art in today's society.
It
Yes,
is
sir. It
because
sure is.
nobody does it nowadays. A lot of people lost. What's the word? A lot of people lost respect for the elders.
Yep.
I
Now you get a certain age, and a lot of people, their kids don't even want to go see them.
and that I agree. That I agree. And then sweetheart, Mama is. I'm gonna call you Mama, okay? As us people start getting older and everything else, sometimes a simple phone call, "Hey, how you doing? Is everything okay?" Go and visit your parents and everything else, because the guilt that you will feel, and it honestly will happen, is that you're gonna think back and you're gonna be like, "Man, I wish I can have those moments back. I wish I can have a certain time back. Man, when it was something going on or whatever, and I just made up an excuse. Oh, I'm doing something or whatever the case may be. When there really wasn't an excuse to be had, but you just didn't feel like going out or going somewhere or whatever. But now, guess what? The only place you can go to is the cemetery. Like in
Yep.
Dad's case, I can only visit my mom at a cemetery, but she's always in my heart and everything else. But I mean, I'm even guilty of it myself. When I was younger, coming up, or whatever the case may be. Instead of making a little bit more time for my mom, I was out there gallivanting with the girls and with my friends and everything else, and not even realizing that, hey, we're only on this earth for a certain period of time. Find time for your parents. I mean, because they gave you life. You know.
Yep.
For sure. I went and took care of my dad when he was dying of cancer and took care of my little brother and little sister while mom worked. And dad died in 67. And then my mother died when she was 78 years old here about 13 years ago.
78. Your father passed away at 78.
She was 78 when she
78.
passed away. My grandmother was 104.
Wow,
And I went
104.
to the nursing home to see her because the doctor called me and told me that if I wanted to see her, I better get down there. And I lived up north, about 350 miles away.
What would
My
you say?
husband got home and we went ahead and got in the car and away we went down to Hillsdale.
104 years old. Imagine the amount that grandma has seen in her lifetime.
Yep.
104. You think about all the wars, all the different economic conditions, different presidents, different societal changes, and everything else. See, I would like to get your opinion, Mom, and Froggy. I'd like to get both of your opinions on this. Is what do you see that societal changes have been from when you were young, a kid? Okay, we're talking way back, Mom. Okay, we're going way back in the train here. Okay, I'm talking. I know, sweetheart. But things in which you wish that you can bring back from the yesteryear to nowadays that you think would actually help society if we brought back some of the stuff from way back when.
Having
Structure,
one of the parents be able to work, only one
structure
of them, the other one stay home and take care of the kids.
Mhm.
plus
And
structure and
um,
discipline.
that's right.
And I'm not talking beating the shit out of your kids. I'm talking discipline. Teach them right from wrong and how to have respect. It's gone out the window. We have 10-year-olds throwing hissy fits because they can't go get makeup. What does a 10-year-old need with adult makeup? Give them kiddie makeup.
Mhm. Back
Let
Yep.
them learn like we had to learn.
Back in my day, my father did not allow any of my sisters to wear makeup until the age of 18. They were not allowed to put on no makeup whatsoever. My father was completely against it. He felt that that made them look like cheap, like they're selling themselves and everything else. Now, of course, today's society, again, that's a different era back then. My father would have been 101 right now. And his mindset was that a lady should be a lady, a man should be a man. Now, if we use that same context in today's era and everything else, it would be considered that we are demeaning women. Now, by me being a man and two women up here, I don't know your opinions on that, but again, nowadays it's different the way females are looked at than a male and everything else. It's just totally different. There's more equality and everything else. But at the same time, as Mama has said about raising the kids, where the woman stays at home and raises them children and everything else, I think it's a more uh, helpful to the child coming up and learning more values. Because I personally believe that the children receive a ton of their values and teachings and everything else from the mother, not the father. Because we're built to be rugged. We're built to be machines. We are built to go ahead and get out there and hustle and take care of our families and everything else. But the mother is the true one that is the one, the way I look at it is as the heart and soul of a family. It's like when a mother dies and the father's still alive or whatever, something alters in the family. Like when my father died, it was very sad and everything else. He died very young in my age and everything else. But my mom was always the rock and pillar of my family. When my mother and my whole family, I even said it to my brothers and sisters and everything. Something changed and everything else, and they all agreed too. is that one because mom, no matter what, as she was getting older and everything else, we all had a common where we went to mom, and she would always say, "You don't have something nice to say to each other? Shut up." And she would outright be very point blank. I mean, as she was getting older, she had no filter whatsoever.
Well, exactly. There wasn't as many kids bickering because we were taught keep your mouth shut if you ain't got nothing nice to say. No, you guys got to remember all the people in the panel. I am 39. Dad is what,
64,
65,
64. Don't put me 65 yet.
64. Mom is going to be 74. So
Yep.
I'm the youngest one out of this group. And at the same point in time, I was raised like they were.
Mm.
Kids were to be seen, not heard.
Yep.
You get out there, you do your chores. At the age of 4, I was doing dishes. I was
100%
sweeping
Heidi.
and mopping floors.
100%
Yep.
Heidi.
Uno de momento, por favor. I'll be right with you.
But think about this, though, Froggy. Again, look at the different work ethics of my genre, my era, and everything else. We will have no problem with putting in 14 hours, whatever it took to get the job done and everything else. Nowadays, people are sitting there bitching and moaning about working 8, 9 hours and everything else. And I'm sitting there looking at you like, are you fucking kidding me? Are you kidding me? There is no way in hell that, again, the difference of the generations, I believe mama, my generation, in my eyes, okay, you were raised and everything else, or in society. It doesn't necessarily have to be raised, but also being in society and everything else, seeing that upbringing and everything else, that things over a long period of time it just changed. And to me, it has not changed for the better because people have no respect for each other no more. I mean, hell, you can get in an argument or a disagreement, and all of a sudden it's like all hell's on wheels and everything else. People forgot to learn how to be able to talk and work their issues out, and I blame that completely on society. Society has changed, and not for the better, and not for. I would love to go back in my era when I was a little boy. Things were so much better, so much
I'd
better.
love to go back to your guys' era, but I would like to take out the racism and the sexism. I think that now you got to remember back then one person could work, okay? But did it have to be the male? No, it could have been the female. I think everybody should have had a degree. Now, when my grandparents were alive, my grandma worked. My grandpa did odds and end jobs because of a medical condition. My grandma was a teacher for, oh, 40 years. So, again, my grandma was the main breadwinner. My grandpa would make his little wood things and sell them or go out and do the odds and end job. He was part-time with the CSI where he would like take crime scene photos, but it was never, this is on you. You do this. You're the woman. You cook. You clean. If my grandma was like coming home from work, my grandpa was in that kitchen cooking and cleaning. So again, I say it should be whichever spouse is capable of working, but we should be going back to the way it was where kids had discipline, kids had structures and chores. Um, and kids said that her foster parents made her do all the chores in the house. I'm not talking about doing all the chores. I'm talking about doing the dishes every night after supper. Maybe sweeping and mopping and cleaning your room. Why? Because it teaches your kid at a young age how to do things in a timely manner, how to do it properly in a timely manner, and how, like, y'all are gonna disagree with me and say I parentify my kids. My kid has to cook 2 meals a week. My kid has to mop floors, clean floors, do the dishes, his own laundry. He has to learn how to budget his money, so he has to get his loans. He has to look at it and go, okay, I have $20. I need shampoo, conditioner, deodorant. I need any snacks I want. So if I want snacks for the next month, I need to get this, this, and this. And the reason I'm doing that is because it teaches my kid how to live on their own. And that's what we're not teaching our kids nowadays, is how to manage, how to be a good part of the society. And kids say, Froggy, I understand that, but beating your children for no reason is wrong. Right. I and I totally agree. Discipline and beating your children are two different things. And everybody says, no, there's not. I do not hit my kid. Roy does not hit my kid. But my kid has discipline, he has respect, and he knows right from wrong.
Hmm.
Remind
Hmm.
you, my kid has a list of issues that are wrong with him. Does he mess up at times? Yes. Does he do stupid things? Yes. Does technology help with that? No. Because, like you said, Dad, you had, what was it, the nudie magazines?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh
And
yeah.
you had to sneak it, right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Mom lived in a very sheltered life.
Yep.
Nowadays, you can walk into the bathroom, look up anything you want on your cell phone, and do stupid things on the cell phone.
Uh, Heidi says that, I think at a certain age, like 10 years old. Uh, I agree and disagree. The only reason why I disagree is because the teaching of a child starts from day one, that when it comes out of its mother and everything else, as far as when, okay, I'm going to change you, I'm going to do this. You're communicating with your child, even though they cannot communicate with you from birth right away and everything else, but they are communicating with you when they're yelling and screaming and hollering and they're going through their teething and everything else. Your children are constantly communicating with you without having to use actual words, through their actions and emotions. So over a period of time, I believe that it's from birth all the way on up, that you're giving them some type of core common ground and everything else, with the parents raising the children and everything else, because they will feel it. If the mother's always holding them and everything else, the father's involved in everything, that child from day one will start to learn and everything else. And like I said, there's not really no set age that far as disciplining and everything else. It can be small disciplines. A child can be 6 years old or whatever, 5 years old or whatever, and they do something or whatever. Take away their candy, take away something that they love or whatever.
Make
Say
them
no,
sit on
you're
the
not getting
stairs
it.
for a minute
And
or two.
yeah, make them go. One thing I always has been against is when they say put the child, their head to the corner of a room and everything else. I'm like, that's why not just let them sit there, like you say, to learn self discipline. Sit there on the
Self
couch, and you
soothing.
are not getting off that couch until I tell you when you're going to get off that couch. That way, you're communicating to your child what you did was wrong, but these are the ramifications when you do something wrong and everything else. And you don't have to yell, scream, and everything else. But I really believe there's really no set right age to be able to go ahead and start disciplining your child. I mean, discipline does escalate over a period of time as that child is getting older and everything else. Because after a while, remember, that's why they always call them the terrible teens when I was coming up, is that you start changing and everything else where you think you know more than the parents. And that part is that you as the parent have to go ahead and keep your core values as a parent, but don't start changing, like, 1 minute you're teaching your kids one thing, and then the next minute you're doing exactly what you told them not to do. I mean, it's remember I always say monkey see, monkey do. If a child sees it coming up and there ain't no, and you think it's perfectly fine, but yet it is something in which that is not good for that child, and to learn any type of respect or values, how are you then going to discipline them when you are showing them the wrong way?
Exactly. And that's the major thing. Like, and as it, okay, so Dad, me and you joke around a lot. Um,
I don't even know you. What's your name? Go ahead. Go
but
ahead.
I always tell my son, it's okay to joke around with the people you know. It is not okay to joke around with the people you don't know. And he goes, but that don't make sense. I go, get to know somebody before you sit there and joke around with them. Why? Because you don't know how that person likes to joke around. Sorry, I got something in my eye. But no, the way we were taught back in the old days is so different than the way kids are being raised now.
Mhm.
Nowadays, it's oh well, he's a good boy. He deserves this. I see so many different kids, like people that are, well, my kid's good. You should give them your stuff. It's like, my kid's a good kid too, so my kid's gonna keep his. He'll play with you, he'll share with you, but it's my son's.
Mhm. What are your thoughts on that, Mama? What do you think about what we just got done saying? What are your thoughts? I'm
Well,
always amazed at what you think.
I was really surprised when the government took the rights away from the parents to take care of their kids, correct their children. They have said you set them in the corner in a chair and make them sit there. How many kids do you know that worked for? Because a lot of kids, you ask, why were you in the corner? I don't know. My mom told me to sit there.
Right.
It,
It was never taught to them why it's not being taught to them why they're in trouble.
exactly. My kids, if they got in trouble, they had to do some kind of a chore.
Mhm.
And my kids were taught how to clean, cook, wash windows, scrub floors, clean the bathroom, which is one of the worst places to clean. And that's just the way it was. And do dishes. They were taught how to cook at a young age.
Mhm.
My kids have been cooking since they were 4 years old. My oldest son says he can cook better than me.
Mhm.
Blowhole says my wife still babies our son, knowing he's turning 20 soon. LOL pisses me off. Yeah, the reason that your wife babies your son is because of the simple fact that he's a miracle child. Think of the situation that your wife is in. I know his wife, that's why I'm speaking on it. And once again, he's a good kid. He knows right from wrong because she tells him right from wrong, but she still babies him because of the simple fact that that is her baby, and she's lucky she had him. If you guys didn't know, Blowhole has given me permission to discuss it. His wife is in a wheelchair.
Mhm.
She is paralyzed from, I think, the waist down. Like she can use her arms. He
I'm
says, but
sorry.
still it pisses me off. Yeah, I know, blowhole. And the reason why is because you were growing up with structure and discipline, just like the
Mhm.
rest of us.
Mhm. But there is a different structure. I don't care what anybody says between
Yep.
your generation and me and mom's generation. I mean, it is totally different because when you were raised by a World War II vet and everything else, the father was always the disciplinarian. I mean, there was no. Mom did not go ahead and get involved in any type of discipline, period, when I
I
was
was
coming up.
mainly raised by my grandparents. So,
Right, but what I'm saying is, but I'm just generalizing now,
yeah.
far as the generations, not individual personal experiences. I'm just saying is what that generation was known for, the World War II people that came out and everything else, was extremely the woman stayed at home, the man went and brought home the bacon, and the woman fried it up in the pan. Okay, now I do believe that yeah, that was pretty archaic if you ask me. I mean, now, even in my age, I think that's too archaic and everything else because men and women are equal and everything. But back then, uh, how can I put it? I just feel that again, look at the way the generations have evolved and just look at it even on social medias, how people treat each other and everything else. Look at the age groups. Look at the ones that are into all the let's go after this person, let's go ahead and cause problems for that person and everything else. You don't see a person like my age or mama's age or whatever doing this shit. You don't see that. Why? Because we're like, this is stupid. What am I getting involved in this crazy, stupid ass talk about? Oh, so what? You don't like me? Good. Go in the corner and give yourself a timeout or something. I mean, we were taught totally different. The
Yep.
word respect meant something back then. The word respect now is totally different meaning than what it was when I was a young boy coming up. Because the shit was beaten into my ass by my father. He would not tolerate it. If I dare ever talk back to my mother, even one time. I told you the one story. I said it one time and my dad gave me a good clock right upside the freaking head. And he did not care. He'd just be like, I ever hear you ever raise your voice to your mother, I'm going to make it even harder and everything else. Yeah. If I say that to anybody nowadays, if a parent did that, DCFS, baby, hey, you're abusing your child and everything else. Well, guess what? I turned out pretty damn good. I just saying. My values are strong and everything else, but that was instilled by my mother and my father and everything else. Now, some people don't have both parents involved and everything. I get it, and but I'm saying is, but the yesteryear, in my eyes, if they would have kept the way discipline was and not been so everything shit you blow on a child is DCFS and everything else. Let parents be parents because believe it or not, yes, you got some bad parents out there that go over the top. But
Yes.
overall, I'm saying overall, no one really wants to fucking hurt their child and everything else in society. It's just not natural. We're human beings. We don't want to go ahead and do that and everything else. But there are times when you have to say, put boundaries on your child because when they're coming up, remember, they're going to become a parent sometime too. And if you just let them run hell on wheels, what do you think they're going to do when they become a parent? They ain't going to know what is right and wrong. They're not going to know what works and what doesn't work and everything because you didn't install no type of values into them.
Well, and like my mom and I were talking one day, as parents, we have tools in general life. As we grow up, we get what we like to call tools, mechanisms that we learn from our parents. And our parents learn them from their parents and their parents. So if at somewhere in that middle, those tools stop getting passed down, you have no spoil the rod or spare the rod, spoil the child. He literally, the way I take that is they just stopped using those tools. They didn't want that kid because if you want that kid, you want that kid to do better than what you could ever do. So as like me and my son, I've gone to parenting classes. Did I have to? No. I purposely went to parenting classes. I went to I talked to all of my friends that were older. I talked to all of my friends that were parents, and I took all of that knowledge and I used it. Do do I pick on my son? Yes. Do I have two naughty names for my son? Yes. Does he know why? Yes. Can he explain to you why? Yes. Also, on top of that, he has a reset button. When he's to the point I'm pulling out my hair, I just go reset. Not hard. Just like that. Reset. And he goes, all right, it's reset time. I'm going to my room. I'm calming down. And I will get to my chores, Mom. And he'll do his chores perfectly. Why? Because I told him with the reset, we need to reset this behavior, we need to reset these actions, and we need to start again because I can't handle this.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the difference between being a dickhead and being a person. He's got to come give us Coco's loves. Hold.
Hello, Glenn.
He says hello. Okay, I'm gonna take my camera off because everybody decided to come into my room. Um,
Yeah. As long as they ain't naked, I mean, we're all right.
right, they're not, but I never know when it comes to my son because he does like walking through my room. He does not like clothes. Whatever. As long as he's wearing below half is covered, I don't care. He can run around without a shirt on. It's his house too. But no, again, it's called communicating with your child. If you have communication in a relationship, any relationship, why do you not communicate with your child? I see so many people, he don't understand. Why don't he understand? Because you didn't teach him to understand.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
As anybody will say, oh, communication is important in friendship. Communication is important in a relationship. Communication is important with your parents. Being able to express boundaries is important. Why can your kids not express boundaries? Why can your kid you could not communicate with your child, and why can you not have the understanding that they are just a tiny human being? You have to be able to discuss things, uh, teach them to understand what you're saying. And that's where we're messing up because mom, did your mom and dad communicate you with you when you were learning things?
Nope, not at all. I was, I called the police because I had backhanded Chris. He sassed me and I just reflex. And he said, well, I'm calling the cops. And I said, don't worry about it. I dialed 911. My neighbor answered the phone and I didn't know it was my neighbor. And he told me, he said, you know something, Carol? He said, if all the kids were as good as your kids, they wouldn't need police out there.
Mm-hmm.
He
Mm-hmm.
said, you keep up the same way you're doing now, and you'll have great kids. My children were more scared of me than what they ever were their dad. Their dad worked, and the only time he seen the kids, unless they were home for summer vacation or spring vacation or winter vacation, was their dad worked nights. So we had just the weekends, and that's what we brought the family together on was the weekends.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way we felt better about ourselves and about the kids. And everybody always told me, you're so and so's mom. I said, yeah, what did they do? Oh, not a thing. They're the best kids that I've ever seen.
And
What
you're
did
like,
they
why
do?
can't they do this at home?
And one thing that is different now that I can definitely say is that back when I was coming up and everything else, the aunts and uncles, they always got together and everything else. The cousins always got together and
Yep.
always did things and everything. That does not exist in today's world. You may have isolated instances, but I'm telling you, there was back when I was coming up, I knew all my cousins, my first cousins, second cousins,
Yep.
when we all got together and everything else. Trust me, that's when, like I said, the lost art of family has completely, due to societal changes and everything else. I mean, it's because remember, there's so much more back then. You can get things a hell of a lot cheaper. First off, the economics is a totally different dynamic than what it
Oh,
is
yeah.
nowadays. And finances and everything else have a lot to do with why things are happening the way they are. Where the mother and father are both out of the house and everything, and now you got little Jimmy sitting there running fucking wild at 12, 13 years old or whatever the case may be, and mom and dad is saying, I'm coming home from work, I'm tired, I don't have time for the homework, I ain't got time to go ahead and go over this. Hey, you know what? As long as my kid isn't in jail, I'm doing good. No, 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 you're not doing good. You know, again, when you had way back when the way things were compared to now, there is such a I mean, it's not even it's drastic, not just subtle. It's a drastic change
Yes,
from
it is.
and I'll tell you what, my generation and everything else, as I said, we learned from the greatest generation known to man. And to me, like I said, my father was a disciplinarian, my mother was a comforter, and everything else. Now, that's not the case in every, but I knew that I better never say nothing to my mother because I knew that if my dad got a whiff of it or whatever, my ass is red. My dad, he was a big boy and everything else. And when you served in the military in World War II, them guys did not play. They did not play. They were all about the discipline, and you just shut up and do your job and do exactly what you're supposed to do. And but
Yep.
things are different now. I mean, it. I feel bad. What I feel bad, I call it the lost generation, which is Kyle. His generation is the lost generation from the 20s to about 27, 28. It's the lost generation. They I I'm really concerned about that generation someday leading this country. I mean, I'm hoping things change, but that generation is whoa. I mean, this is going to be the first time. This is going to be the first time that they said that my generation, the generation after us, is going to be less financially, less being able to uh, create. And they did some study on this that my generation is the generation after us is going to be less than what our generation. Every
Yep.
generation usually does better than the next because why? They had the upbringing, they had the teaching, they had the opportunities, and everything else. Nowadays generation, MTV has ruled the freaking day and everything else. I mean, all that stuff is because they always try to go ahead and give reasons why. The generation nowadays always tries to give a reason why they can't do something instead of saying there's the reason why I can do
There's
something. The generations now, to me anyway, is probably the weakest generation that is out there between the 20s and 30s. And I'm sorry if I offend somebody, but that's a fact.
Well, it's the truth.
That's all.
I mean, my
Dishes in
generation,
here.
when Denny and went after our marriage license, the guy wasn't going to give them to us unless we promised
That's all.
never to go to bed mad.
Hey, Luna, take dad.
How you doing, buddy? Hey, I'm
He said,
proud
"How
of you.
you doing, buddy?" Now
Hey,
go.
hey, I'm proud of you. You're doing the dishes and everything.
He
See, there
says
you
he's
go.
proud of you for doing the dishes.
Hell yeah. Now that makes me
All right,
freaking
go do the
happy.
dishes. Have fun.
There you go. I like to see that. I like to see that.
He
Well,
even
yeah.
he even needs he even knows he has to come search the whole house for dishes, not
Very
just
good.
do the dishes in the sink. He has to do the whole search the whole house. Why? Because he used to just do the sink, and I'd bring out dishes, and he'd be like, "I just did the dishes." I'm like, "You never searched the house," and he'd be like grumbling, and I'm like, "Did you learn anything?" Yeah, search the house.
Now, Mom, I'm going to ask you a question. What was back in your era? I already know this answer. I mean, I know she's gonna answer what I'm thinking, but I'm gonna ask it anyway because all you young people have no fucking clue. Anyway, mom, back in your era, what was one thing that you knew you could not cross with your husband?
I never crossed the line.
Elaborate.
Okay. If I said I was going to do something, I did it. My husband went to work, made the paycheck. I did the mowing, the gardening, the house cleaning, taking care of the kids, and the cooking, unless it was on the grill. That was his forte. And I took care of the animals. But we worked together. It wasn't mine. If I earned money, it wasn't my money, and the money he earned wasn't his money. Once the bills were paid, groceries were done, and he got his money for work, it was put in a kitty, and that's what we used on the weekend. But it was always done as a family.
Golly. You know,
Every
I
weekend was family time.
correct. And that right there, darling. My God, you just hit on something that it just my old ass also kind of forgets, but you hit it right on the head. Parents have forgotten the word family time. My kids will tell you and everything else. We had what was called family night when they were coming up, and we would sit around and play board games. We would play poker. We'd play many different things and everything when my kids were coming up, and they all had to attend because they lived here. And I'd be like, "No, you're not going out on Friday night. This is because I'm working my ass off, and Mama's at home and everything else." And I looked at it as I'm out there busting my ass. I don't get to see you. I don't know what's going on. Tell me about your day. Tell me what happened at school. What is going on? Hey, do you got a girl? Do you got someone that you like? I mean, Dad touched every little question I possibly could. Of course, appropriately with their age. As they were
Right.
coming up. I would ask them purposely, hey, you involved with a girl? Whatever. And if you are, I'm going to teach you a little bit about the birds and the bees. Now, mind you, a lot of people don't like to, they feel uncomfortable about that. Dad never did. I had no problems with talking to my daughters about being careful and everything else and all this other stuff. I had no problems with doing that. But nowadays, I mean, people have truly forgotten how to go ahead and have that what's called family night. You've got to make that time because not only is it your kids are going to love that and value it and everything else, you as a marriage, a husband and wife, also bond even tighter together because you're both remember, and this is no knock on females. The female has more of that loving, comforting personality than a male. We do put up a big block of trying to be this big tough guy, this big, I'm the security blanket of the family and everything else. But the mom is the one, in my eyes. If you got a good mom and everything else, I guarantee you, you're going to turn out all right in society. I really believe that. But the moms in today's society, they got to quit damn wiping the damn diaper when the kid's already getting damn older. Kids out of the damn diapers. They're already in their damn regular underwear and everything else. You've got to go ahead and treat them accordingly. That's my opinion on that.
My kids were always potty broke and bottle broke by the time they were a year old.
Yeah. Oh,
They ate from the table, they drank from a sippy cup,
hmm.
and they never wet the bed.
So what happened with Chris? He's still wet in the bed now, from what Missy
No,
told me.
he's
No,
not.
I'm just joking. I'm just joking.
We gotta pick on Chris.
I know it. I don't
Yeah,
know what I'd do without the boy. He's been a prince. He
Prince
come
of
up here from Virginia to take care of me.
Bel. Yes, yes, and that is a beautiful thing. And as I said before, I mean, but what would you think in nowadays era? You think kids would actually do that for their parents? I don't
Nope.
think. I really don't believe that. I don't believe that 1 second. I don't.
Oh, heavens no. The kids don't respect their parents. They don't respect anybody. And what's this deal with a kid having their pants clear down underneath their butt cheeks? So you see their underwear if they're wearing any.
Okay, let me break that down to you, Mom. That actually started in prison. And what that actually means, and not a lot of everybody thinks it means they're gangster and they're, top notch
Nope.
cool. What it actually means is you're ready to get pounded in the booty hole.
I realize this, but that's embarrassing for me. One little kid ran up behind a guy, and pulled on his shirt and he says, "How old are you? Do you have a problem?" I'm 3 years old and I pull up my pants and I clap my hands. I was so proud of that little boy.
Mm.
And 10 minutes later, a older kid went up and grabbed a hold of the guy's pants and pulled him down around his ankles.
Oh wow. Holy shit.
And what is it with these young women going into Walmart and stuff? I've seen it on Facebook that shows every damn thing they've got, literally.
Because, okay, I'm not going to defend that one because I think it's ridiculous. It's because everybody says that we as a society should not look down on people who are wearing skimpy clothes because they feel sexy in their body. Now, I understand showing a little cleavage. Hell, I do it all the fucking time.
I understand that too, honey.
Have a good, tight midriff, maybe wearing a crop top, but wearing a nice pair of jeans or a nice pair of shorts. Not wearing basically your underwear and bra walking through the store.
But I seen this right on the computer where this gal literally had her pants unzipped.
I'm on a live stream, but yeah,
Yeah,
see
they,
here,
they
my
do
old
that
ass
all
son
the
sees I'm
time.
on a live stream. Perfect example. I'm on a live stream. My oldest son right now, he sees I'm on a live stream, and he's interrupting me, showing me something. It
Which
doesn't matter
And
if
one's
it's Johnny
that?
Black. That's
my
David, the real older one.
Hello,
my
Nathan.
David,
That's great. Thank you. Now get the hell
hello,
out
old
of my way.
man.
He is an old man. He's like you, freaking old as hell. Just saying.
And you're all babies that I'm talking to.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I seriously think that today's society has killed the respect women had for each other
Yes,
or for themselves. Everybody says, "Well, I wear what I want." Da, 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 da. I say, don't judge them for what they wear. Judge them on their personalities. That's great. And kids, I totally agree. But back in the old days, men had our imaginations went a little bit more stir crazy because a we didn't have sex on the first date. It just wasn't it. B, there was a little bit more covered up, so there was a little bit more room for the imagination.
exactly.
And
Mm.
my daddy always used to say this: "Why is anybody gonna buy the cow if you're giving them the milk for
Milk
free?"
free. Mm,
Yep.
mm, mm,
And I'm like,
mm.
"Dad, are you calling me a cow?" He goes, "That's what you took from it. That's what you took from it." And I'm like, "No, I understood it. I just thought it was funny to pick on him." But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
seriously, you can judge a person on their personalities, but I would also judge them on their actions.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can have the best personality in the whole entire world. I mean, shining bright, fucking bubbly, happy personality, but you're a dickhead to people.
Mm-hmm.
It,
Yeah.
I
Yep.
mean, you really gotta think about that. Ha ha
Mm-hmm.
ha. In the 60s, women wore skirts up to their asses.
I
No,
didn't.
no, the skirts back in the '60s, it was definitely it was below the knee. It was below the knee.
They were a little shorter than what they were in the 40s.
Well, yeah, yeah, but over time, I mean, now some of the damn women turn around and wear shit that is like, I mean, you just sit there and just like, oh my god, what the hell is that?
Yep,
They wear a
it's
tube
like
top for
two
a skirt.
inches, maybe if that below the crotch.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Which
And I'm
once
not
again,
being mean about it either.
which once again, boo boo, do you? But it I was always taught that if you ever notice, Froggy is normally in a hoodie or a tank top and a pair of pants. I do wear shorts, but you
We've seen
ain't
you naked before.
not on live stream. You have not.
Oh, we've seen it all. We've seen
But
it all. Don't be giving me no bullshit.
Dad, did you get into my OnlyFans again?
I ain't doing nothing. I'm being completely quiet. I like I said, I've learned sometimes just to hide things and don't say anything because then you can get caught and everything else, and I'm not interested in getting caught. No.
Right. But no, back in the 60s, there were girls that wore skirts that went up to their asses. Up to their asses. And what did everybody say about the women that wore the skirts up to their asses? I guarantee those two could tell you. There wasn't pretty words coming out of their mouths.
They were tramps.
Oh my gosh, I cannot believe I just got done hearing that word. Oh my God, I love you. Chris, I'm in love with mom. I just got to let you know that this is true. My mom used to say that all the time to my sisters. If they were, my dad and mom had to approve of my sisters to wear certain things and everything else. The guys, we can do whatever the hell we wanted and everything. Well, we would just wear jeans anyway. But the girls, oh, no, 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 no. My father, if he felt that you had, too much makeup on or wearing tight pants or whatever, like jeans. My sisters could not wear tight jeans, had to be loose because he was like, you are not just showing your ass out there and everything else. You are my daughter and everything. And I mean, nowadays, shit, some of the girls don't even look like they're wearing any fucking thing.
I know it. It's bad when you're in a store or seeing a girl walk around a high school with her
Scott
cheeks hanging out.
Scott says you can see just or you can just about see their thong. Abraxa says now they wear skirts that don't even cover their asses.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
It's true. Honestly, it is. Scott throws out, especially the lot lizards. Right. Once again, a working girl don't wear shit because they're working girls. There is a reason strippers, I'm not gonna put them down, but they wear skimpier clothes. Hookers
Yeah.
wear
Yep.
skimpier clothes.
But
Oh, I
Lot
know.
lizards
I'll
wear
tell
skimpier clothes. Women think that sexy look makes them empowering, but you can be
Yeah.
empowered without dressing like a lot lizard or a hooker. You can be empowering without having to show your tits and ass to say, I'm a badass bitch. Let me tell you, I am fully covered 90% of the time. I do wear shorts, but that's because that's what today's society is making. But let me tell you, I'd rather wear men's shorts because they're longer. I am a badass bitch. I am an empowered woman without looking trashy, without looking like I work on the street corner.
Mm-hmm.
You
Well,
can be a badass bitch without looking like you work the street corner.
I'm gonna tell
well,
you, you want to pick up a good man? I mean, a real good man. Trust me, them guys that are looking for all these broads with all this damn tight shit and almost showing everything or whatever, You think they're interested in a relationship? You think they want you to be the mother of their child? Fuck no. They just want your piece of ass and get the fuck out of here. But a woman that goes ahead and dresses accordingly and wholesome and everything else, that that is like in my case, mama was that way. Very, very conservative and everything else. But I'll tell you what, what attracted me because you weren't a slut the way I look at it and everything else. And I went to hell and to the end for that woman and everything else because her attraction and everything else to me was not what she's wearing and everything else, but it showed me that she had some respect and everything else for herself. Women that wear this shit
Exactly.
that is coming up their ass and everything else, yeah, you're a turn on. I mean, we're human beings. You're a turn on to the other guy or whatever. But if you honestly think that you're wife material, hell no, because he's thinking, shit, if you're doing that for me, who in the fuck else you doing it for?
When we were on our way home, me and Chris from your house, Dad, when we'd come down there, we had stopped at Madawan to get something to drink. There was two girls. I don't think they were over 14 or 15 in the back of a police car.
Mm, mm.
And they called the mama, and the mama was really ticked off at them because they snuck out of the house to go to this truck stop.
I'm
Now,
getting.
what the hell is that telling people?
I'm gonna give you a story, and this is the honest to God truth. Another story that Dad never put out on YouTube. My sister, okay, they would go ahead and have the long clothes on and everything else, right? And this is true fucking story. It's beautiful. And they turned around and they put a different set of clothes in their purse, right?
Yep.
Well, not too smart considering that your brothers were going to the same fucking dance and everything else. They go into this different shit, all low skirt and everything else. We went ahead, called our father, because back then we had to go to a phone booth and everything else. So we called him or whatever. He comes into the fucking dance hall, literally looks at them, points, and they just both could put their fucking heads down and walk straight to the fucking car. Needless to say, they never went to a dance again. My father said, "You are no longer allowed. You do this behind our back and everything. You are my daughter. You are not a slut," and everything else. True story. They got busted because the brothers, we looked out for our sisters because we did not feel comfortable seeing our sister looking like that out in public. And now, mind you, the skirt wasn't all the way the skirts are now, but it was above the knee. And we were taught by our father that no, it's got to be below the knee if you're going to wear a skirt and everything else. But they were wearing shit halfway up the damn thigh. And I'm like, wow, that's my sister. And the dudes are sitting there looking like, oh, wow, okay, you want to dance and everything else. Me and
They
my
want to
brother,
pounce.
yeah, and me and my brother was like, yeah, you come there, my sister. You're getting your ass fucking beat and everything else. I mean, because, I mean, how stupid could my sisters be? You know, your brothers are going to be there. What did you think? You were going to get away with that? So we told Dad, and Dad came down there, and he was not very happy. They never went to a dance again. Just a little story.
Alexis asked, "What's a phone booth? The thing that you sit in when you're in driving down the highway?"
No, the Illinois Bell, buddy. Illinois damn bell. That is true. Remember to smack that like button. Yeah, smack that like button. That'll be freaking beautiful. And if you decide that you want to join a Breakfast channel as a member and everything else, feel free to join it. $1.99. I just got to put that out there. Yes, I'm putting it out there on your channel, Breakfast. If you want to join or give a super chat or whatever the hell it is, feel free to go ahead and do that. See, I can do that because it's not my channel.
Blowhole, don't throw out your back.
Sorry. Ain't my
Blowhole
fault.
says, "Me and my wifey are going to be home alone all afternoon and evening." I said, "Don't throw out your back."
Mm. Yeah, I'm gonna be with my wife, but I'm protected by a whole bunch of my kids and grandpa and everything else. I ain't gotta worry about none of this shit.
How soon before your son's girlfriend has the baby?
The baby will be due July 20th, but if it's late, it could fall on Lunatic Dad's birthday. Could you imagine that party? Ho, ho, ho.
Whoa, baby.
Mm-hmm.
That baby's going to be spoiled rotten, Dad.
It's already begun. Mama's already started to buy shit show it, but another time. All the damn baby clothes she's already buying. She's like, I got neutral colors, so it doesn't matter if it's a boy or girl. It doesn't matter. Neutral. And
Good.
I'm like, woman, it's freaking. You don't have till July. She's like, yeah, but you know how fast that comes up on you. Hmm.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, we're buying the crib. The it's our tradition that the grandparents on her side and us, we I guess we it's a tradition. I didn't even know it, but where both grandparents buy the crib together and everything, where they give half, we give half, and it's a gift from the grandparents to the baby to let it have that the grandparents are always with you. I never heard of this, but I evidently I'm in on it.
Well, good.
He don't care as long as he gets to spoil the thing.
That baby's gonna get something new every day.
See, my thinking is, and, oh, and I'm sorry to say this, and I don't mean no disrespect, but I see a lot of grandparents now, literally, like back in my day, my grandma and grandpa would be like, okay, so why are you yelling at her because she's sick? You know, they stepped in, but they stepped in to make sure I was okay.
Yeah.
I see a lot of grandparents now. Don't you discipline that baby.
They need to be disciplined.
Right. So our we're taking the grandparents nowadays, not you guys, the grandparents nowadays are taking over the role where parents cannot discipline the child either. Like I
Mm,
grew up, my grandma was like, hey, "You did what? Get out there and clean the wood shavings from Grandpa's barn." Now, remind you,
Yeah.
I lived with my grandparents a lot of the time, and when I went to foster care, I went to an elderly foster system or foster home. Oh, you got caught smoking? Get out there and build the porch. Oh, you got caught smoking? Write the sentence and go make $10 cleaning the dump bucket of Lyle's truck. So at the end of the day, I was taught discipline through them, but I was also taught hard work through them.
I
Let
got
Yeah.
me tell
smart.
you, when I got when I was in foster care, they were building the porch, and Lyle says, "Well, I'm only having the people that the foster kids that were on discipline helping." I went in and I cried to my foster mom. I'm like, "That's no fair. I just want to do it. I don't want to earn any extra money. I want to learn." She walked out there, smacked Lyle upside the head, and said, "You let that girl help her. Help? She wants to do it. She wants to learn.
Hmm.
Why are you denying her because she's good?"
I had to eat a Marlboro when I got caught smoking. I was just saying, my dad didn't appreciate me smoking at a young age.
I
He
had
made,
to
he
write
actually
a
made me eat the damn cigarette. I puked
I
my
had to
guts
write
out.
a 10-page essay and pay a $250 fine.
Mm,
I was in
Wow.
foster care.
holy shit. Hmm. Yeah, and here's another thing, uh, with the difference in parenting and everything else, is that we would allow our children to make mistakes so that they can learn from their mistakes. The problem nowadays, parents and everything else, they don't allow their children to go ahead and learn and progress and everything else. Let them make a mistake. I mean, not a mistake in which it's going to hurt them, like physically or anything like that. But if it's something in which they make a decision that you're like, nah, this ain't gonna turn out so good or whatever. Let them make it. Let them make it because they're gonna learn from their mistakes. All of us learn from our mistakes, even parenting and everything else.
Hmm.
I've learned. Well, I mean, I'm not the same father I was from my first child to my eighth, but by the time I got through all these damn kids and everything else, I've gotten pretty damn good at what the hell I do and everything else. So I mean,
It's so funny because my daughter brought something up about that. She's like, "Why do you treat Jordan different than you treat me?" I said, "What do you mean?" She goes, when I did XYZ, I got in massive trouble. When Jordan does XYZ, you sit down with him, he gets in a little bit of trouble, and that's it. I said, because each child is different, and I've gained more tools with
Yep.
Jordan than I did with you, than I had with you.
Hmm. I agree, Heidi. 100%.
Yep.
Grandparents should be the ones who should be able to spoil their grandchildren. The parents should discipline the kids. Yes, that needs to be on a shirt. Grandparents spoil, parents discipline.
Oh, you should
Well, it's
see.
like,
Go ahead, on.
go ahead, Dad.
No, 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 no. You talk first. Go ahead.
It's just like my grandkids. I got one grandson that I'm not allowed to touch, punish him or anything. Even if he's jumping on the furniture, I can't even swat him on the butt. I was told no hitting. Stick him in the corner. And I told my son, I said, I stick him in the corner. You ask him what he did wrong.
Hmm.
And one day he come and he was in the corner and he asked the boy, he says, what did you do wrong to be stuck in the corner? I don't know. Grandma told me to stand here, so I did. Have no idea what I did wrong.
Hmm.
And he said, well, where's your iPad and stuff? Oh, Grandma took it. She told me I couldn't have it here anymore
Hmm.
until I figured out what I did wrong.
Did he ever
And
figure out what he did wrong?
yes, finally, but my son was very upset that I punished him.
Yeah,
That's a
Again,
no no.
but
But yet, then if he does something wrong with a teacher, he's asked the teacher, he's asked the principal and stuff. And Brian said, you know something, Mom, this is your fault. I said, why is it my fault? He said, oh, you and Crystal spoil him. And I said, tell me how I've spoiled him. Well, you let him get away with everything. I said, no, I don't. He jumps on my furniture that you gave me. I swat his butt.
hmm,
And I said, and if he sasses, he stands in the corner and has to figure out what the hell he did.
hmm,
So I
I
said, don't tell me I did something wrong. And now I don't get to see him.
it's
mm,
called reflection, basically. And I know the kid you're talking about, and let me tell you, that kid will swear. That kid is like, we're supposed to watch our tongue, but he runs around and he acts like a spoiled child. And once again, instead of taking the accountability, your son's like, this is your fault. He never took
Well,
the accountability, and that's what a lot of children are doing. They're not taking the accountability. They're blaming the grandparents. They're blaming, the mother or the father. This is your fault. This is your fault. Instead of being like, this is my fault. I need to change this now.
this kid has had a computer, a razor, a mini bike. He got the mini bike when he was 2 years old. He's had I don't know how many iPads. And when they took and told the kids they couldn't come to school anymore, he even got a laptop computer.
mm. Well,
And now
so
he got his dad's razor because his is it isn't big enough, don't have a big enough motor in it.
it sounds to me that this little boy, and I don't know him very well or whatever. It sounds to me that he's got a little spoiledness in him and everything.
Yes, he does. And I love the kid to death, and he loves
Oh yeah.
grandma.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. But as parents, we all were parents before we became grandparents and everything else. I had no problems with my mom going ahead and disciplining any of my kids or whatever because I'm like, well, if it worked for me, it's gonna work for them. That's the way I looked at it. And far as swatting, what do you call swat? I say spank on the ass or whatever. Listen,
Yep.
the ass is not. That's what it's meant to be. besides taking a shit. Okay, it is what the hell it is and everything. I mean, it ain't gonna kill you. And like I said, it's a different world. It's something that I'm entering for the first time myself, being a grandpa and everything else. So I mean, I know that if my child, my grandchild starts getting older and gets out of line, I start seeing a smart mouth or whatever. Yeah, I'm probably gonna spank that little ass and everything else. But then I'm gonna tell them why I did it once I do it and everything.
Right.
So it doesn't get lost in translation where he's not saying Grandpa spanked me, goes back to the parents. Grandpa spanked me and everything else. Yes, but before you go to your parents, I'm gonna let you know why I went ahead. I mean, I'm not gonna haul off and leave a damn hand mark or whatever. I'm just gonna let them know, hey, let them know that hey, what you're doing and how you're talking and everything else is wrong, and you need to
Mm-hmm.
stop with that because if you're gonna go ahead, I want you to grow up to be a fine young man, just like your father and mother and everything else. They were taught by
So it's a
me,
boy.
huh?
So it's a boy.
We don't know yet. We're still waiting on these results from the thing. Trust me, I'm waiting more than you. You have no idea. I want to get this first time grandpa. It's gonna be beautiful thing. Yes.
See,
I
but
I
again, you're willing to teach your grandchild discipline
yes.
and respect and values, and I'm sure the parents are too. Excuse me. I'm sure the parents are too.
But
Where the
I
society fucks up is the grandparents and the parents ain't on the same terminology.
mhm. Mhm. True. True. But I will say this, if it's a granddaughter, I mama knows. I've never once, believe it or not, when I tell you this, you're gonna call me a liar, but it's the truth. Is I've never spanked my daughters. I never have. Never. I just something inside me didn't allow me to do it and everything. My sons, I whooped their fucking ass. Let me tell you, when they were coming up, I had no problems. The hand to ass, believe me, they can tell you every little wrinkle in my fucking palm of my hand. Okay, I mean it is what it is. But my daughters, that was now mom was a totally different story. Mom was an equalizer ass kicker, girl or boy. She didn't give a shit. I mean, she just did not care. She didn't care about your damn gender or whatever. But I've always told my wife, yeah, you were able to do that, but it's something about my daughters that I'm just like, I can't do it as a dad. I'd be like, you handle that, and I would
You
pass the
gotta
ball on.
protect them.
I just couldn't do it, darling. I could not whack
I
that
know
ass.
why. It's because they're daddy's little girls.
They are.
Even
Yep.
to
Yeah.
even now, it's daddy's little girls.
I mean, here's the same thing. It would be like, okay, now Lawrence is gonna have a child and everything else. Now, if Tanya or Amber get pregnant or whatever the case may be, Mama even said, "I bet you $1 million you're different. You're gonna be different because it came from your daughters." I'm like, "How do you know that?" She said, "Look at the way you raised them coming up. Look at the way you raised them coming up. You have literally put two sets of standards on each of them." And I'm like, well, I never noticed that. She's like, yes, you did. You didn't notice it because you were in the moment. But I noticed it as your wife that you did treat the boys and girls totally different. I'm like, oh,
Yep.
well, okay. I didn't know that. Okay.
Well, my mom and dad treated my baby sister different than they treated me. When dad, before Rhonda was born, my dad told me I could not be in the same room with her. I could not breathe the same air as her. I could not touch her or have anything to do with her.
Hmm.
And I was 12 years old. They had to go to the hospital because my grandmother, dad's mom, had a massive stroke.
Oh, oh.
I was only 12 years old taking care of a newborn.
Mm-hmm.
And it landed on me to take care of Gary, who was 5 years younger, and Rhonda, that was 12 years younger,
Mm.
plus go to school.
That it's wow, you are bringing me too much flashback, Mama. I swear to God. My older sisters watched me and they were only 10 years old and I'm a baby and everything else. Because back then it was no big deal. Now imagine leaving a 10-year-old with a newborn and everything else. Man,
Nothing.
you be going to jail.
Oh
You've been going to
yeah.
jail.
If one of them didn't ended up in the hospital first, because we all know how brothers and sisters get along nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Mm-hmm.
speak from experience because I don't talk to my brother at all. Matter of fact, if I see him, he better fucking run for the hills because
Mm,
Buggy don't deal with him.
mm,
I had an older brother that is dead now, rest his soul. He was a child molester.
mm, mm.
He had stepchildren and his own children, and him and his wife sat and watched those kids do it on in real life.
Oh wow. Oh wow. That
And
is.
when
Oh.
he died, his wife, third wife, never let anybody know on this side of the family because she didn't want the family stepping in and say, I want this, this, and this. I would have never done that. I would have went to the funeral.
No,
Mm,
basically what it is she didn't want the family there because she knew that he was an outcast of the family.
Yeah,
Which
but
I
that's
mean,
just it. He wasn't an outcast. He was a trucker. And when he was out on the road, he would call my husband and talk to him. And
oh,
once she seen his number on my husband's phone number on his phone, she destroyed the phone. She didn't want him to be anywhere around his family.
food
mm,
costs pennies on the dollar. And kids, instead of talking about kids, can we talk about what life was in the old days, like how much
mm.
food cost, etc.
Okay. Yes. I'm game for that. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
back
I
in the
don't
day.
know much of it. All I know is I still to this day I remember when a bag of chips, a big bag of chips, cost 99 cents.
Well,
Yep.
I can get that same bag of chips for 12 cents, darling. Back in my day when I was a little boy coming up, can of pop, 3 to 5 cents. A Big Mac, guess what? Big Macs, huh? You can get one for 11 cents for a
Yes,
Big Mac.
sir.
11 cents. I am not kidding you. 11 freaking cents for a Big Mac. Far as milk, gallon of milk, shit. What would you say, Mom? 39, 49 cents.
39 to 59 cents,
There
depending
you
on
go.
wherever you got it. And it didn't have to be white milk, it could be chocolate.
Yep. See, now look, I just said it and she said it exactly the same time right after us. So see, we're in the same genre, baby. We're in the same genre. Hell yeah. And as I said, see, look at that. Heidi got me a little bit excited and everything else. That's just like wow, excellent. But here another thing, clothes. You talk about clothes. Thing of jeans. You can get brand new jeans for $2 and everything else. I mean, it was the stuff in which what we paid now, but don't forget the money that was made per hour back then and compared to now is night and day. I mean, it's just inflation that makes you think that stuff costs more now, but people are making more now too. I mean, a
Oh,
house
yeah.
you can get a brand new home back then, 25, $30,000, brand new home for 25, 30,000.
Blanket sleepers like you pay 25, $40 for today were like 39 cents.
Mm-hmm.
I got my oldest son a shirt and pants winter. It was a flannel shirt and corduroy pants lined with flannel, $1.99. I bought 3 months worth of groceries, $15. Butter, 29 cents a pound. Bread, 10 loaves for $1. Oleo, 10 pounds for $1.
Mm-hmm. And by the way, the candies, believe it or not, candies back then, you can get it for a penny or 2 pennies. I mean, it was same like cigarettes, believe it or not. Cigarettes for a pack of cigarettes, 39 cents, people. 39 cents for a pack of
39
smoke.
cents. I gave 30 cents.
Well, it may be different areas, but yeah.
But
But
yeah,
seriously,
everything was cheaper.
imagine if we had the money we have now and we can transport me and you back in time of then, they would call us millionaires. They'd be like,
Oh, yeah.
"Holy cow." man, I would be buying up everything. I'd be like properties, everything. I'd be like, man, this is beautiful. But I mean, even back then, I mean, everything across the board, it was completely cheap as hell. Cheap as hell. But again, you didn't make as much money. Remember, when Dad grew up, I believe it minimum wage was $1.65. I think
Really?
$1.65 or $1.85 was minimum wage for the worker and
I
everything.
think my husband started out at 60 cents an hour.
See? Exactly. See
And
that?
you could get a brand new car for less than $800.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I mean, and imagine the cars back then that we grew up in, like in the 60s and 50s and everything else, beautiful fucking. I mean, when American Muscle was American Muscle, people, not this fiberglass shit,
Exactly.
not this fiberglass shit. And you go ahead and take that same exact car back then, put it now, people are selling them for $1 million, $2 million if they're in mint condition at the shows and everything else. Think about that. The cars in which we thought, like, yeah, that's $600 for new. Now you can get it for 1 million. You know what I'm saying?
Yep. Have you
The
ever heard of a Ford Fairlane, a
Oh yes,
57 hard top convertible?
yes,
My
yes.
husband had one. He traded it off. And after he traded it off, the guy got 15 grand for it.
Mm, exactly,
It was
exactly.
yellow and white, a beautiful car.
I had a '63 Camaro, and that thing. You want to talk about muscle, mama? Oh, it.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, let me tell you, it was. I love jet black. Okay, jet black, and it had the T tops up on top. The removable ones and
Right.
everything. And it had and I put a scoop on the front, and trust me, the posi on that, which is your rear end, guys, that thing would
Right.
just when I'll tell you what, that was the greatest car in the world Dad's ever owned. That oh, but I also totaled it because my dumbass decided to go racing in the rain. Well, with a 350 motor sitting underneath there, fully powered with posi, not a good idea to go
nine
ahead and
chances
race in
out
there.
of 10 you ate something.
I ate something. I didn't eat anything.
Whether it be a freaking another vehicle or a brick wall or a post or a tree, you ate something.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. No, it was actually a pole in the neighborhood. I wrapped it around, and I didn't get hurt or anything. But again, look, you're talking about cars way back when. You're a hell of a lot more safer getting an accident in those cars now compared to
Yep.
well, we got the airbags, we got this. Yeah, and you get in a fucking accident nowadays, it's like an accordion and everything else because it's all that fiberglass shit. You ain't safer more now in these cars than way back in our day.
Amen to that.
Yep. You're right, Dad.
Not
No
only
doubt
that,
about it.
you literally, in order to fix a car nowadays, you have to have freaking $10,000 worth of equipment to fix it because it's all computerized bullshit. Which could, you get hit by lightning, guess what? There goes your fucking car. You ain't getting that shit back because it's gonna cost about $30,000 to $40,000 just to get it fixed. You might as well just go buy a brand new one at that point in time.
we
Yep.
had we had 4 barrels, 2 barrels carburetors, and we had the points and everything that you can set that you can go ahead and advance your timing and everything else in a vehicle. And if it started breaking down, just advance a little bit, she'd start right up. Now, if there's anything that even remotely goes ahead, it'll shut the whole damn car down. I mean,
Yep.
it's like night and day. I mean, like I said, some of the things that have societal changes and everything else have not been good. People, you guys live in a fucked up world. I want to go back to the 50s or 60s if you don't
They
mind.
had three deuces back then, too.
But yeah, yeah, exactly,
Morgan
exactly.
Warner T10 4 speeds.
Can
Yep.
I tell you why they changed that though, Dad?
Sure, go ahead, enlighten me.
The reason that they changed it so that you basically had to have a mechanical license in order to fix a vehicle is because of the simple fact that there was too many backyard mechanics going around fixing vehicles for cheaper than taking it to a mechanic shop. Now, if you are a backyard mechanic and you can easily fix your vehicles, now you got to take your car to a mechanic shop. So the mechanic shop is now getting the money. Cars are only built to at 75,000, maybe possibly 75,000 miles, and then they're going to start deteriorating and it's going to nickel and dime you to death, as they say. Back then in the old days, your cars would last to be about 200,000 miles, and then you might have to replace the transmission or the engine. At that point in time, they're not nickel and diming you to death, but at the same point in time, the money at prospects of, okay, do I pay a mechanic or do I go buy a new car? Nowadays is the same comparisons of, I'll just take it to the backyard mechanic down the street. Joe Blow down the street will fix it for a lot cheaper than today's than the mechanic shop. So the mechanic shops are losing money, which now they figured out how to make it so mechanic shops ain't losing the money. They have to order all the parts, all of that shit. And not only that, if you take your car to a mechanic shop and it says it's going to take 4 days for them to take your engine out, put your engine in, right? You're going to get charged for that 4 days, even though it only took them 12 hours.
Well, yeah, it's called book time. I mean,
Right.
well, how long it should take, but if you got a good mechanic or whatever, he's gonna be like, shit. They say 10 hours. I'm gonna charge you 10, but I'm gonna do this in 3.
Exactly. Roy was a mechanic for many, many years, and that's how I know so much about this. But as he says, he would have to charge. My transfer case broke. I had to pay for the garage time. I did not have to pay for anything else. I had to pay for the garage time. They tried charging me for the 2 days that it was going to cost for book time. Roy says, no, you're charging her for how long it took me.
Mm-hmm.
And they go, okay, well, how long did it take you? An hour and a half.
Mm.
So I went from owing over $1,500 to $150.
Mm-hmm. But remember, back then, when me and mom grew up and everything else, that was the thing. Us guys, we loved working on cars. We didn't bring it
Exactly.
to the shops, mechanic shops, and everything else. I mean, you tell me that back when I was a little boy, I'd be like, "What's a mechanic shop?" I mean, my dad, he always made sure he had us boys and showing us how to do things and everything else. That is a lost art, by the way. Fathers actually teaching their kids things in which they need to know and everything else. That's a lost art. That is way gone. I don't know of any parents that I even see or whatever, seeing having their boy right next to them and showing them, hey, this is what you do: change the tire, change the fuel filter. This is how you do this, how do you do that, and everything else. And that's why the kids nowadays, today's era, and everything else, they're messed up because it has not been passed down the knowledge from my generation, the previous generation, and everything else. It's not being passed down because it always seems like the generation now and 30s and 40s or whatever, that they turn around and just they don't take the time to actually give them the core values of what they're going to need when they go further and older in life. They want life to basically teach them instead of being parents and teaching them life. And that is a
Yep.
big difference. That's a big difference. I gotta piss. I'm sorry. I'm gonna piss in my pants. And being old, when I gotta go, I gotta go.
He will piss in his pants. But no, seriously, um, that's why when Jordan gets his first car, he has to buy it. He has to fix it up and everything else because of the simple fact that there's no reason you cannot teach your kid how to fix a car.
Exactly. I know when Denny and I was dating, he taught me how to rebuild a motor. We were married when we rebuilt the Borg& Warner T10 transmission. We did it on the kitchen table.
Yeah, that was very common back then. But
Yep.
nowadays, you got these women that their car breaks down and they're like, I don't know what to do.
Yeah, that's just being a baby. I'm sorry.
Well, okay, so I was, long story short, we're going to make it short. So it's the end of the story. I was driving home from Texas. I heard a squealing sound. I'm like, Roy, there's something wrong with my car. He goes, what's it doing? And I told him the sound it was making. He goes, that's your wheel bearing. How do I change that? He goes, you're going to have to take it to a mechanic shop because you ain't got a punch press.
Yep.
So we hurried up. We managed to find somebody that was willing to do the punch press, and it got me home. But again, if it was a flat tire, I'd get out there and change it. Today's society, women don't know how to do that. Boys don't know how to do that. And I'm sorry, it's true. We had a radiator leak.
You had to go to the bathroom?
Not that type of radiator leak.
Oh, okay. I thought, never mind. I thought you were talking about woman parts. Go ahead.
Roy told told George to go out there and check it for your mom before we leave.
That was TMI.
Yeah.
I'm throwing it on the table. I did not need to know that. I don't need that picture in my head.
What? The transmission?
Sorry.
Just remember, you got a bunch of perverts in here.
Oh. That was just rebuilding a Burger Warner T10.
You didn't hear Froggy giggle about that at you
No.
said the kitchen table, and I put in too much information.
Mom and Dad did it on the kitchen table.
Well, yeah.
They rebuilt
No, we
the
didn't.
transmission on the
That
kitchen
is
table.
TMI. I don't need to hear that. Now I'm going to have nightmares from it.
How do you think you were
up.
born, Chris? How do you think you were born? Let your mom tell you exactly where she was and not
You
trying to
shit me
sugarcoat
out
it.
on a stump.
Well, probably. It's possible.
But no, Roy told Jordan to go outside and check the radiator fluid before I headed up. And he goes, I don't know how to do that. Now, what he thought was because when it was cold out and we only had water because we had a radiator leak, we're not going to put $20 antifreeze into it. We're just going to throw water into it. When we put the water, he thought he had to drain the radiator and put the plug back in because we drained the radiator. I'm like, no, dude, you just got to take the cap off and make sure that it's full. And he goes, oh, I thought I actually had to put something in on the bottom. I'm like,
Question.
The answer.
How long are you guys planning on going?
I don't know.
I don't
we're
know
already
either.
over
You have
our
a Super
time.
Bowl party.
Well, yeah, I got my thing at 2:00 my time. It's 12:35. I didn't know if you want to do a post call or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, we'll end it here and do a post call.
Oh, there is one carburetor setup you forgot about.
What's that?
The 6-pack.
I said the
Oh,
I didn't
six-pack.
hear you say 6-pack.
Your
She
mama
did
said
say
the six-pack. Your mama knows her car's okay.
Do you know what a 6-pack is, Froggy?
You got a quadrijet, you got a quadrijet, and you got a dual jet, and I mean,
No, because once again, 6-packs was not a deal when I was being raised.
it was a Bud Light.
That was
That's all
a
six-pack.
six-pack of pop.
A
That's
6-pack, Froggy, is 3 2-barrel carburetors.
3 deuces.
Yeah, once again, that wasn't around
But-
when I was growing up.
But the thing
Yeah.
is, you mostly seen the 6-pack on a race car.
I do know how to jump an old
Yeah.
pickup truck. You put
And-
the steering column and it has this lever and you just push it forward and you can start the car. And let me tell you, you can push the vehicle down the driveway enough so that way Dad won't hear his truck pop off. And you drive it or you push it and you
What
make
was
sure
that?
you're far enough away
No,
and you
yeah.
pop it.
6-pack, wasn't
you
it?
pop that
Yeah.
clutch.
I think so.
Hey,
That
Froggy,
clutch.
if you want to learn about the
Mhm.
6-pack, watch a movie called 6-Pack. It has Burt Reynolds in it.
Okay.
Is he naked?
I had no idea.
Neither do I.
Scott, we always make sure the plug goes back in.
Yeah, I get it. I get it. Well, like I said, yeah, you could say something, I'll say something, and then mom, since it's your stream, you're gonna do the ending and everything else since you are the host and we are guests on this beautiful channel called the Brex Paranormal. So go ahead, Froggy, do your thing.
We'd like to thank everybody that came up. Sorry, we did not talk to everybody that came up. As you guys know, Sunday streams are so that way we can have a conversation. Normally it's with just women, but dad substituted for uh
Yay!
lunatic mom today because of whatever reasons. So we are glad we had dad up in here. Put the clothes away, dude.
Mom.
Jordan, please.
Boy, there he goes. Slap his ass.
Right!
Just saying.
Wow.
Anyways,
Really?
Continue.
You
anyways,
want to ask Froggy how to
I
take him
I
up
am
in there.
so glad that everybody came in. You guys are amazing. We love you, and we hope that you had a great time. We appreciate every one of you. Off to you, Dad.
All right. First off, I'd like to say thank you to my brother from another mother, Chris of Rex Paranormal, allowing me to become a lunatic mom today and transgendered my gender. I'd also love to say to Mama, it has been a joy as usual. But just going back in time, it marvels me by how much your thought processes and my thought processes are very similar. And I love you for that. And I think you're an awesome, awesome freaking host. And I'd also like to thank SJ Rabs, M Kid, Scotty Thornburg. I want to thank Abrex Paranormal coming to his own stream, Madison. I'd like to go ahead and thank everybody, Blowhole, for sharing us all of his thing, thinking of others. I mean, you guys all have rocked this stream once again. And as I said, I'm an outlaw for life. And the only thing I can tell you is we got more and more better material coming and everything else. Stay tuned because I'm proud to be an outlaw and I'm proud to have these beautiful people a part of my family. Go ahead, Mom. You go ahead and do what you got to do.
Thank you, everyone, for coming in and watching the show today. I have no idea what to say, but I'll tell you, the old days were better than these days because we had more respect and we could get more stuff for the amount. So thank you all for coming.
Give us a hand! Yeah!
Hell yeah! I ain't gonna yell that loud.
Woo!